Welcome to In the Zone, number 57. And sitting across from me today, we've got a guy that I will call him, he's like the Wizard of Oz for East China schools. The man behind the curtain.
Yeah, there we go.
Welcome, Craig Headlee.
I don't know. Hi, Craig.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me
Thanks
on.
for coming in.
Yeah.
You're sort of that guy behind the scenes that most people know, but some people don't know.
Yeah.
Obviously, if something happens with the network.
Well, yeah. So, as the IT director, and I always tell people this, and that's okay, is it's my job to make things work. A lot of people don't care about behind the scenes, but I want my phones to work. I want my computer to work. So in a sense, you're right in that behind the scenes, it's my job to make it work.
Keep it going.
Absolutely.
So you and I have known each other for quite some time. I know where you're from, but maybe some of the people around the area don't know. So you were born and raised where?
Actually, still local, Marysville. So all my family and generations of my family are from Marysville. Grandma and grandpa, mom and dad, went to Marysville High School. Not to get ahead of myself too much, but eventually I am now a Mariner, right? So now I live in Marine City.
I usually don't hold that Marysville thing against you too much.
Yeah, I met my wife is from Marine City. We ended up moving to Marine City. Yeah. Lots of stories about that. Big football family, right? Yep. So I graduated from Marysville and won their first state championship in football in 1986, under Walt Braun and Jim Vigna and all that good stuff. And then, had a lot of success when we had our boys, and they all went to Marine City, and so we have lots of stories. I got lots of stories. Originally, when I met my wife, though, it was kind of funny because big rivalry at the time. I was still heavily into in Marysville football. Mm-hmm. Every other year we used to sit on. One year was Marine City side. One year was Marine City and Marysville side. So. But eventually, once we started having kids, and we settled down, it was kind of neat. But no, originally from Marysville, I love small towns. I mean, we're a small town. My wife's a small town person. I'm a small town person, and love the area.
Yep. So mother, father, siblings.
Yep. So mom and dad have passed away. They passed away a while ago, back in the mid '90s and early 2000s. So I was one of those oops types of babies, as we used to say in the old days. My dad was 42 when I was born, so born in 1969. Just had a birthday recently. I'm 54. Grandpa worked for Detroit Edison. Okay. Uncle worked for Detroit Edison. This has got to be back in the 70s.
Did they then lived in Marysville and probably drove like a mile?
Yes. Okay. Yep. And then Dad worked for Detroit Edison. He worked out of the Port Huron hub, but they worked out of the plant that was torn down a while ago up there in Marysville. So that was a generational thing, and just had a good time.
Any siblings?
Yeah. So four. So I'm the youngest of four, as I said. My oldest brother passed away a couple years ago. And again, when you think about the age difference.
Sure.
And kind of like my grandma and my grandpa were like the core that kept everybody together. We used to have our family reunions at their house, and then when they kind of passed away, everybody kind of split up. And when my parents passed away, my sister now lives in Indiana. My brother lives in Phoenix, Arizona. Sure. And we don't get to see them very often.
Sort of weddings and funerals type of thing.
That exactly it. So I have two left. Actually, just saw my sister a couple months ago, which was good, but not very often. Yeah. When I'm with the kids and stuff, you're busy.
You're busy going in all kinds of different directions.
And working all that stuff. So that's our kind of family history.
And where did you go to college?
So I went to, originally, another big story, and this is a good story. I like to tell this story for, and again, I'm 54, but I like to tell this story for younger, people. I am now the IT director for East China School District. I'm actually just finishing my 25th year. My job did not exist. Right.
When you started.
When I started, the IT director, feels like a whole lifetime ago. Yeah. But my job did not exist. It was literally our department was created when I was hired in 1998. Originally, so I graduated high school in Marysville, wasn't sure quite what I wanted to do. I went to SC4, get my, I was like, I want to be a teacher. So I was going to start pursuing that. So went a couple years at SC4, at the time working at Little Caesars Pizza. So back in the day, and again, I'm looking at, young words, pizza really meant something back in Little Caesars. Now that means two pieces for the price of one.
The old ones where the thing slipped into the almost like a bag.
It was a bag.
Yeah.
It was two pieces side by side, and I got really good at that. There was an opportunity. So there were, going to SC4, I was going to be a teacher. there was an opportunity at that time, again, late 80s. They were opening stores like crazy back then. So I had a regional manager said, do you want to go open up Little Caesars Pizzas down south? They're not available down south. So I moved to North Carolina back in the late 80s after school, kind of like put college on hold and paused it. I went down to North Carolina for 3 years. I opened up stores from start to finish, from construction to hiring to make sure everything was going. But being away from my family wasn't my thing. I mean, again, small town. So after 3.5 years, I'm like, let's move back home. Moved back home, went back to school for accounting. And weird, right? And I'm like, and if anybody knows me, they know I'm kind of like that ADD. I like different things going on, but I like the numbers game, and I like doing accounting. But right at that time, computers were just starting to kick off. You got to think, not early 90s. So, I got into the digital side, the computer side of the accounting. So I got my degree. I actually worked for two local companies. One, BWP Transport. I think they're still in business down on Range Road. But my niche was accounting on computers and setting up, everything and networks and all that stuff. And at that time, I was, kind of hustling on the side. I was fixing computers. Back when you could make money selling computers, I was building computers, I was selling computers, had a couple things going, worked for a couple small companies where, I set up their network, set up their accounting system, and I was able to do their payroll, I was able to do their, all of their accounting and bookkeeping for some smaller companies. And then literally back in 1998, like I said, they passed the bond issue for East China to build St. Clair Middle School at the time. So they were building St. Clair Middle. They were putting in all the network cabling, all of the power. I mean, they were really getting the district set up for computers that are going to be installed in the future. And lo and behold, I just so happened to see in the want ads, a newspaper advertisement for a job, interviewed, and I was hired in as a desktop technician, just a computer technician.
Who hired you?
Laura Newton, Mickey Baden. If you guys are watching this, hi you guys. And it was interesting. The department just started. Everything was brand new. It was just cool, and I had that networking experience at the time that they really liked, and then things just grew from there. We passed the bond. Dot matrix printers, we put dot matrix printers and tube TVs in and VCRs in, and that was my first experience. But that was 25 years ago. Right. That's crazy.
Oh, it is crazy. It's crazy how far we've come.
Yes.
When you're saying this to me, first thought that comes off my mind is when you used to get on the computer, you click, and then you hear the old dial tone, beep, 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 and then the beep, and then you get on, AOL, and you downloaded a song and it took you a minute or two.
Yes.
Now nobody has patience to wait 5 seconds.
No, I used to back up. So I used to program on the side. I used to write little small programs, and we used to save those programs to a cassette tape. Hit record, and that's the noise you hear, and that's how you saved your program. It's just crazy.
Some of these kids would never understand or get what you're talking about.
No.
Well, and it's also like, look at the way that like Channel 6 operates. Back when we started doing football 22, 23 years ago, we deal with VHSs and big old cameras that were this big. Now it's done with remote cameras from a trailer down below that's got 10, maybe 10 monitors, replay, and a fair amount of people, the grandparents, the aunts and the uncles that are out of town. It used to be, midnight, the game day, you'd watch it at midnight, 3, 6, 9, right?
Yes.
Today, it's normal to say, just go to YouTube and CTV6 St. Clair or Marine City football, boom, it pops up.
Back when I was in high school, so everybody took turns. Our videographer, so the game film was recorded on a little 8 or 16 millimeter. So everybody had to take turn, and I remember driving down Detroit with my dad because I didn't have my license, and I had to pick up the 8 millimeter film so we could watch game film on Monday, drop it off at Coach Braun's house. And now I remember when the boys were playing. Tony used to do these CDs, in the front of his house. He used to have the
Drop
CD
off.
duplicator. We used to go in and pick up the CD, and now we have Huddle. The
Right.
teams all have, whether it's basketball
Yeah,
or
yeah, yeah.
you know, volleyball or whatever it is. And now you're instant. The game's on right away.
Right.
You can go live, or like you said,
Yeah.
with Channel 6, it's instantly uploaded, which people love, and they can watch it all hours of the day or night.
Yeah.
It's pretty.
It's pretty amazing technology,
Yeah.
how long that's come along, and how you can teach, you know, with that.
Right.
How, you know, sporting, all the different sports, like you said,
Yeah, yeah.
Softball, basketball, football, whatever it might be,
Yeah.
instantaneous
Yeah.
almost.
And the kids love it. I mean,
Yeah.
the kids love watching themselves. That's how you get better. Videotape doesn't lie. If you're, you know, a coach, you know all that stuff. But it's just, it's crazy how far it's come.
So let's ask. So you lived through the Walt Braun era
Yeah.
with Jim Vigna, and that was quite a machine in the 80s. You know, as I've often said, you know, we are there. Marine City Mariners are there today, and we're the machine.
Yes.
From a father's perspective of having 4 boys go through it, tell me what your thoughts are.
We talk about this a lot at home. You know, my wife Sandy and I. For me personally, I was blessed to go through the Walt Braun era.
Sure.
We had, you know, back then we played the 2 platoon football. He had a system that worked back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s.
Yep.
Won their first state championship. And it was absolutely a blast, absolutely fun. But again, back then, I mean, I was 5'9", 175
Right.
pounds, offensive tackle, you know,
Right.
all-state honorable mention, blah, blah, blah. But now with our boys, it was funny how they were so successful, and all of a sudden Marine City started kicking it in with Coach Bob and Morcantine, and then, you know, just started that tradition, started that
Right.
from young players to up, and my boys. So now
Right.
it's like, what a blessing.
Yeah.
We hit the right time. All I can say is we hit the right time. They were starting to become successful, and as my boys started growing, they were, you know, played in the
Junior football.
junior football,
Sure.
learned the system, and just were very successful. And it was funny because I will say this. I'm going to backtrack. My junior year, so we won my senior year in Marysville, but the junior year, Marine City was a powerhouse, and our only loss in the regular season that year was against Marine City. For those of you who are, you know, from Marine City, I'll enjoy all that. And we used to tease because part of the tradition, this is just an off story, Sandy and I talk about this all the time. Hated Marysville. Why do we hate Marysville football? She goes, I don't know how you did it. So one of the things that we did, you know, that whole mind game thing, we used to warm up. So let's say we're going to Marine City. Yeah. So we used to warm up.
You'd be over
off-site,
off at East China Park.
whatever. And then we come in,
3 minutes
national
before.
anthem, and we're ready to go. And it just irritated people so much. And I just still laugh about that. But
The latter years, it didn't work so good.
no, it
Yeah,
did not.
yeah,
But at my time,
Yeah,
it worked
yes,
real well.
yes.
And I think what helped us, and I think this is the same for Marine City and whatever team wants to get better, is our strength of schedule. I think Walt, you know,
Yeah.
we started playing
Anybody.
Jackson Lumen Christie, some of those better teams and
Powerhouses.
powerhouse teams that made us a better team. But moving fast forward, my boys really got it. They were water boys during
Right.
the Brendan K, the first
Yep.
state championship team. And I have 4 boys, for those that don't know.
Yep.
I have 4 sons. I have Jared, who's 27, Jacob's 26, Justin's 23, Josh is 21. So they all went through the program, and they've all had just a ton of fun, a lot of
Yeah.
success. Jared was in 2011's finals.
Yep.
You know, we ran against Port
Yep.
Zealand West, and
Yep.
you weren't going to beat them, you know.
Right.
And that's okay. Jacob was on the 2013 state championship team.
Right.
Cool part about that is the 13 state championship team, Grand Rapids South Christian, is the same team I beat when I played in
okay.
1986. So it was kind of a cool
Yeah.
story, or
Yeah.
kind of neat there. You know, Justin has his own success, and Josh has their own success. But I think playing for Walt Braun, playing for Jim Vigna, having great teammates is the same thing my boys got with Marine City,
Oh, sure.
playing for some of the best coaches in the state. I mean, how awesome is that?
Yeah, consistently.
Been a fun ride, and
Yeah.
they grew up being water boys. I
Yep.
mean, that helped as well. But just so much fun.
So when they get together on the holidays and they talk about high school football, who wins out in the arguments?
Well, who went the farthest?
right,
Yeah, who went the
right.
farthest? Who's got the ring or whatever?
Right.
But they've always been pretty good at that. But it was kind of nice too. At that time, a lot of them in their own era got to play together, so it was kind of fun.
Right.
For those that watch Marine City football, it's like Jared and Jacob, not as much back in the day. They had so many kids on the team. If
Yeah.
you remember, But as the numbers kind of went down,
Right.
with enrollment going down,
Yep.
you know, Jake and Justin got to play together. Justin and Josh got to play together. As a parent, you
Right.
know, it's a
Doesn't
blast.
get any better
It
than
was
that.
fun, yeah.
Right.
No, they always tease because I have so many stories, you know. So we always talk about different stories and stuff. I mean, football family. I mean,
Right,
that's
right.
just the way it is. That's what we grew up. So.
So when did you decide at the point of going back to the career, it was just the ad in the paper type of thing that this sounds like me?
It was crazy. It was one of the things where, you know, I knew I didn't want to do that, run the pizza places and all that stuff. And accounting was just something came up and that worked for me, and then I was pretty good at it. And it was coincided with, at that time, I loved computers, everything about computers, you know. I will say, when side work, going to people's houses, fixing their computers, and at the time it was a totally different world than it is now. That's what you got to think. You have to think like every component was separate.
Right.
Every component had different drivers that you had to have.
And
There was no internet necessarily. CompuServe, you had to dial up internet to get drivers. You had to pay. You had to pay for every megabyte you downloaded. So in that time frame, my job, my role in helping people was pretty significant, because not the average person could do that. I just loved computers. It worked out well for me. And when I saw this job, again, I was working for 2 smaller transportation companies, setting this up. It was working, but I just felt like, wow, an opportunity. I wanted to be, if you remember, I wanted to be a teacher originally. And I'm like, this is an opportunity. A, new department. B, I love computers. B, I'm working with kids. I always tell my team, I've been there so long, and I always tell my department, I said, we are the wizards behind the scenes. But I said, what we do, making our technology work, does affect the lives of students, and I feel in a positive way. So I felt like when that opportunity came up, I was like, you know what, I also get to help kids.
Sure.
So that's kind of where I went, and from there, as the district grew, passed bond issues, we're able, thanks to the community and passing bond issues, and able to add, as technology evolved, you got to think,
add and change.
iPhones didn't come out until 2007.
Right.
iPads didn't come out until 2011. There was a lot of technology over the. Think about all that tech of where we're at today. It's been kind of fun to see the growth.
I've often said, I'll use the term the naysayers of saying, well, kids, when I was in school, no, it's a different game.
Yeah.
We have to look at this different.
Well,
let
me take your phone away. You tell me how it's going to go. Right.
Exactly.
Everything's online.
Take your internet away. How about the 15 minutes when you're somewhere and you don't have wireless?
Yeah.
It's like you don't realize how intertwined everything is.
That is true, or how reliant you are on it, or how.
Right. So let's talk about the IT department and what it does. We know that it provides the network, but it also provides the telecommunications phone system for the district, correct?
Yeah. Yep.
So there is no regular phone wires that go through a district anymore.
Yep.
It's all over the internet.
Yep.
So you handle the phone system.
Yep.
You handle the technology from the standpoint of the wireless. So anything to get on the computer.
Yeah.
So what happens? Obviously, how big of a department is it?
So right now there's 4 of us total.
Okay.
Great team, been together. And what's nice with our team is we've all been there for a number of years. I have Jerry Socha's been there. I hired him 6 or 8 months after I started.
Okay.
So I was hired in as a desktop technician, but the department grew really fast.
Sure.
We put a lot of equipment in, and so I kind of moved up real quick. So I went from desktop technician to kind of like a mid-level supervisor, and then eventually after Laura left, I interviewed and was hired as the IT director. So I've been doing that, early 2000s, whatever.
How many buildings are there?
So they're like 9 right now.
9 buildings.
Yeah. So what we do, and that has evolved over the years as well, in that we used to, I remember teaching teachers how to turn on a computer, how to left click on the mouse.
Right.
I mean, those are the days, the very basics, and how not to be afraid. I've always told people, it's okay. Don't be afraid. Click. We'll figure it out, and we'll help you along the way. So we used to have like a more in-depth, that type of scenario where we would have to teach them some of the basics. That's evolved,
Yeah,
which is
now
good.
everybody
Thank
knows
goodness everybody knows
coming
how to
in.
use a phone. They're coming in, all the basic stuffs are done. We've really evolved into, we need to keep the network running. We passed a bond in 2020,
Yep.
thanks to the community, and our infrastructure. So when I say infrastructure, like you were talking earlier, what does that entail? Network switches, fiber optic cable, wireless network, phone systems. That's the behind the scenes thing.
Sure.
That we work with mainly right now, but that all had to be replaced, which we've done in
Yep.
the last couple of years, and provide for the future,
Right.
which is a one-to-one Chromebook program for every student. So every student in our district has a one-to-one Chromebook. First thing we did was the infrastructure. Now we have all wireless devices for all these students and teachers. And the next step is this summer, big things happening
Yep,
there.
yep.
We did a pilot program in about 30 or 40 classrooms with our teachers on new classroom technology, their new 4K touchscreen, smart TVs, no more projectors in the classroom.
Let's talk about that for some people
Yeah.
that maybe don't know what
Yeah.
what a smart TV.
Yep.
So they can teach with this TV. They can press the TV. They can fast forward. They can stop. They can show things. They
Yep.
can
Yep.
several screens
Yep.
together.
Again, all of our curriculum is becoming digital now. Everything the kids are doing, whether it's testing or reading, a lot of it is all digital, whether the students do it on their Chromebook or the teacher can display that on their TV in front of the classroom. It's not your typical TV. It is touch screen.
Right.
But it's still, high quality enough. We're taking out projectors that the bulbs
Right.
go bad. It
Right.
gets dim. You have to turn lights off in the classroom just to be able to see them. This is no more. We're not going to have this anymore. One of the things I like about the new TVs too is we're putting in motorized adjustable mounts for every classroom. Because teachers move. I'm shorter than somebody else. They want the kids to come up and interact with the television so they can bring it down to each student's level. So we're putting in some resources and things of that nature to make things a little better operational in the classrooms. Getting rid of the projectors, the TVs, they're 4K TVs, touchscreen, connected to the sound system, new computers for all the teachers. We are giving them dual screen monitors. I mean,
Right.
I had one teacher's like, why do I need a dual screen monitor? I said, well,
After you
talk
have
to me
one.
in a week.
Right.
So a week later, they're like, oh, I can do my grades and I
Right.
can get this set. And then I can go ahead and display my lesson. And so we built in with this classroom a lot of flexibility. The teachers can now teach. They're not stuck to their desk. We have a little rolling cart as well with a 2-in-1 tablet that the teachers can use, and they can screencast to the TV from anywhere in the classroom so they can display or teach from anywhere. It also gives the students the ability from their one-to-one Chromebook to screencast. If a teacher wants them to show their project or a group, they can screencast to the front of the TV. I mean, it's just where we've come from has been
amazing.
from a TV and a VCR in a classroom to the, being able to be wireless, et cetera. Now that everything's digital.
Sure.
So it's kind of nice.
Now, where do we sit as far as, like, say, from a percentage standpoint of, we've got the bond issue going, we've got a lot of stuff going on both ends of the district.
Yeah.
Are you halfway through? Are you more than halfway through?
So for me personally, there was the carving out of the full bond.
Yeah.
Tech had a portion of it. So after this summer, our big projects this summer is to outfit the rest of the classrooms with all the new classroom technology. So when everybody comes back in the fall, they're all the same. All the teachers have the same equipment. That will put us just over halfway through.
Okay.
Infrastructure was first. That was a couple-year process. We ran into the problem, Craig, of when COVID hit and then supply chains became an issue, costs going up.
Yeah.
We ran into the same thing. I couldn't get equipment. So we were doing as much as we could, but that kind of put everybody back. But now we're at the point of the exciting part. It was all the behind the scenes. Nobody saw everything that was going in, and they're like, is anything happening with the bond? Well, now that's done. So now we can build upon it and get this stuff working. So we're excited about that. So that'll be done. We have security cameras going in all the districts this summer. We have new copy machines, which our staff are like, taking out all old printers.
Sure.
Those are the big projects. So we're well over halfway through after the summer.
So then, security cameras.
Yeah.
Does that mean there'll be cameras in every room?
No,
Okay.
not in every classroom.
Okay.
We kind of categorize it, look at it as it's called it's coverage, right?
Yeah.
So we try to cover an area in every building.
Always.
But we don't put them in the classrooms. But it's more of a, I don't want to say reactionary, but it's, they're there for safety and security.
Sure.
We have, the immediate is the front door access,
Sure.
secure access. Those vestibules are being built as construction goes.
Right, they're going to change.
Yeah, and they'll change. Right now, we still have a remote access in, so nobody can just come into the building.
Yep.
They have to be led into the building. So we have a new system going in for that. So that's good for safety and security.
Now, if you were guessing without knowing exactly, how many cameras would be in a district? A couple hundred, I would think?
More than that. I'm not going to, I'm going to tell you,
Right.
Yep, more than that. But definitely a good, and again, on some of that technology, as we've seen it over the years, costs have really come down.
Oh, yeah.
Being able to connect them to the network, not in, in a simpler way, has come down, and everything's going to the cloud now, right? So a lot of that stuff is saved in the clouds.
Sure.
We manage them through the clouds. So costs has come down, so we can do some better things.
So then, I know that the Marine City High School front door is going to change
Yes.
to Ward Street,
Yep.
and then they're still going to have an entryway on the Horseshoe.
Yep.
So 2 entryways.
Yep.
That changes a lot with what you're doing, technology-wise, because you've got secretaries in different spots,
Yep.
principals in different spots.
Yep.
I'm guessing you're not done with that yet because the construction hasn't been done.
They're actually just
Starting.
getting to that right now. They're internally, a couple wings are done, and we're finishing up our part. By the end of the summer, we'll have the new classroom tech installed, the new wiring installed. We found as construction has happened with that original bond issue, a lot of the wiring was put in, but that was mid-90s, right?
Sure.
So what we're finding is a lot of that cabling, which is now 6, 7, 8 years old, has to be brought up to code. So we have to take a lot of it out, put a lot of new stuff in, and then reconfigure everything. But it's a good thing. I love the new secure entrances, and
Sure.
and there's a flow.
Yep.
And with the new technology, again, being wireless, we'll be able to let people in. Like a principal will have an app on their phone,
Sure.
and you're not stuck to a desk.
Right.
I mean, mainly a secretary would be there and be able to answer the door and answer the phone and let them
Right.
in. But there are other avenues as well, which gives flexibility to the office staff.
Now, is St. Clair High School going to have the same entrance or
Yep.
different?
Nope, same
Okay.
thing. Same. All buildings, all of our schools will have these secure entrances. It's a vestibule. Outside, you'll be buzzed in from the outside. You'll go into a secure vestibule, so you
Yep.
still can't go anymore. Then you'll be buzzed in again.
Okay.
But with the new door locks, it gives us some different, options as well. But and that's important. We'll have cameras there and
Okay.
all that good stuff.
Any
so.
changes at the PAC Center?
So what we've done, I don't say changes, but they're getting the equipment that we're putting into the schools. They're getting on rolling carts, we call them rolling carts or whatever. So they're getting the smart TVs on a rolling cart. They're getting the secure systems, the buzz-in systems, and security cameras and things of that nature. From the tech perspective, Dave from the PAC has got some
Yep.
other things, lighting and stuff. That's kind of his area, his wheelhouse. But from our perspective or our side, they're getting the new stuff
Okay.
as well. So that's pretty cool.
How about the new center at headquarters?
Innovation Center?
Innovation
Yeah.
Center
Yep.
on Meisner Road. Let's
Yep.
talk about that.
Yeah.
Roughly how many classrooms?
I think there's 10 classrooms.
Okay.
It's a big building, and it's a beautiful building. And I think, yeah,
So there should be classes in it this fall?
they're actually starting class. Yes, the
Okay.
answer is yes to that. They're actually doing summer school there this
Okay.
year. So summer school is at 2 different locations, Pine River, and they're holding summer school at the Innovation Center. So we're actually gearing up for that, making sure they're ready. A couple things we have to have in place, and there's some make sure things work behind the scenes. When the students bring their Chromebooks, we got to have spare Chromebooks in case something happens,
Sure.
a way for them to charge them if they forget their power supplies. Things of that. All the wireless is installed, the network is installed, but they're starting summer school there on the 26th. So there's going to be a lot of things
All
going
kinds
on
of
there. It'd be
stuff there.
kind of fun. Yeah,
Yeah.
it'd be kind of fun to watch kids in there.
A lot of people don't realize, the age of some of these things. And when I talked to Dave from the PAC Center, I can't remember exactly, but I think it's close to 20 years old.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, 2000. I think a grand opening in the performing arts. So that was a 2001 bond, I believe. See, this
Okay.
is
Yeah.
from being here forever. I think that was a 2001 bond, which put additions on the high schools and built the Performing Arts Center.
Right.
Which grand opening, I think, sorry Dave, 2003 or 4.
So,
So that,
yeah.
and people don't realize that's been out there for a while.
We were talking, and I said, Cripe, the draperies, got to last only so long, right? 20
Yeah.
years is a long
Yeah.
time.
Yep.
The
Yep.
pulleys,
Eventually it will wear out.
You're right.
Doesn't
Right.
matter, eventually it'll wear out.
And then things there like the control room with all the technology,
Yeah.
so that you can show the band concerts and you can show the rest of the theaters and different things like that.
Yeah.
I found it interesting. I think it's probably going on 2 years. I don't think it's 3, but the new scoreboard at the stadium.
Yeah.
So you were instrumental in that,
Yeah.
and a lot of people would think, well, what do we need a new one for? Well,
And why do we need a big digital board?
Right. Well, one of the reasons, number one, was that to get parts for that thing was like you were having to go to eBay
Yes.
to find something used to get it to work.
Yeah. Unfortunately, things just don't last forever.
Right.
It's not your refrigerator that you had from 1950 and it still works.
Right.
And the issue we ran in, I'll tell you how did the tech director get involved with a scoreboard? So when they first installed that scoreboard, that was something that was installed back in 2001 with that bond as
Right.
well. We were I don't know what number we were, but within the top 5, one of the first districts to get the turf, the first
Sure.
of
Yep.
turf. So how did I get involved? Well, one day I got a phone call. Every time the announcer would speak over the loudspeaker, the digits on the scoreboard would go out. I don't know if you
Right.
remember this, and I'm like,
Yeah.
and they tried to troubleshoot it, couldn't figure it out, so they asked me, and lo and behold,
Check it out.
they installed the fiber optic cable digital line in the same conduit that they did the loudspeaker. So every time that was getting crossover and bleed through, and it was causing the scoreboard to go out. So I fixed that. Jerry and I fixed that actually. And for some reason, I've been in charge of the scoreboard ever since.
Right.
But like you said, the new scoreboard has 2 servers. It's run on fiber optic cable. It's run on computers. It's run on iPads.
Right.
It's it's all computerized and it's all digital. So so it just kind of stays in my lap a little bit.
Which also bleeds into that area that, number one, we can put anything we want on there.
Yes.
If hypothetically somebody came and said, we want to run a drive-in movie theater for the night, you could do that because
Yes.
you're going to run it from your laptop.
Yes, you can.
You
Yeah.
know.
What I really like about it, because our district is St.
St.
Clair
Clair
and Marine City.
Yeah.
Okay, we're 2 unique
Right.
school districts, and they have our own identity. I love this board because when St. Clair soccer, whatever, is
It says
playing,
St. Clair
it says
Saints.
St. Clair Saints
Right.
on it, and that's your identity. Well deserved, and that board can accommodate that. Same thing with Marine City.
Yeah.
So I really like that.
Yeah.
And new sound system, I mean, it really is the right thing. And honestly, with the new construction of St. Clair High Gym, we're actually going to put one of those digital boards in there.
Makes sense.
And the same at Marine City. They're going to be both the same once they get their remodeling done. And that is where we're at
Now we
today.
just have to get humans to operate them.
Yeah, you still do. AI can't do it all, can it?
Got to get Bill to be quicker. on that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Bill's done fantastic.
Yeah.
And then he could tell some stories too. Bill DeRose,
Yeah,
we're
been
talking
doing it
about.
forever.
And hey, Bill has done a great job on the iPad and just absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Sounds like we covered everything. Appreciate you coming
yeah.
by. I'm sure that we'll want an update sometime in the next
Yeah.
6 to 12 months to know where we're going and what
Yep.
else is new in the district.
Sure.
Anything else you want to share about?
No,
anything
I
going on?
appreciate you having me on
Yeah.
and talk a little bit. It's
Yeah.
been fun.
So before long, we'll see you at the football field.
Yes, you will. Yeah.
If you know of anybody, my phone number will be up there in a second there. Recommend anybody sit across and have a conversation and learn something new. For number 57, Craig Headlee, we thank him for coming in, and we'll see you next time.